Hey guys, and welcome to my rogue tanking guide for 3.0 in Nightmare Expert and also other general tanking needs. I'll be going over the abilities and macros you'll be using and some general tips for tanking. So, we'll go straight into it. As you can see, Riftstalker is the main soul with Ranger and Bard alongside it. You'll need 61 points in Riftstalker, then 8 points in Ranger, with 5 points in Enduring and 3 points in Bolster. And then you'll need 7 points in Bard with 5 points in Good Health and 2 in Stage Presence. The masteries to use are Safeguard, Adamant Resolve, Unstoppable, Timed Focus and Planar Variation. Now onto the abilities and macros. The first two macros I'll go over in a moment. Then we have a couple of finishers that you need to be aware of. Firstly, we have Guarded Steel. This is a very nice ability as it increases your armor and also generates a lot of threat. And also due to a passive ability within Riftstalker, you get a buff called Rift Guard, which when you use Guarded Steel gives you an absorption shield, and then later on that will then deal damage back to the enemy. We then have Wrath of the Plains, which deals AoE damage, and then Power of the Plains, which gives you a weapon damage and attack power increase. I then have Planar Variation on my bar, which is nice to heal yourself or someone else in the party, as it will fully heal them. Or if not, you can use it to deal AoE DPS, and it will deal a shit ton. So now onto your combat buffs. We have Planar Refuge, which reduces damage taken. And then we have Scatter the Shadows, which also reduces damage by 90%, which is very good for mitigating a ton of damage on some boss mechanics. And then we have Planar Aegis, which gives you an absorption shield, which is quite a big one. Then we have Soul Coalescence, which when fully stacked will give you a 20% less damage taken buff for 4 seconds. So this can be used pretty much all the time because it has only a 30-second cooldown. So you can usually use this for most boss mechanics. We then have 3 control abilities to help you take aggro at the start of fights, or if new adds come during a fight. And this is this happens a lot of the time during the Nightmare Experts, and I'm sure it probably does during raids as well. So we have Planar Attraction, which teleports 5 enemies in front of you. Mass Instigate to force 10 enemies to attack you, and Instigate to force 1 enemy to attack you. We also have Acquittal, which is a very nice ability to have. Basically it intercepts damage that an ally would have taken. And then as you can see, it says it replaces the allies' toughness with the rogues for 6 seconds, so the damage that they would then be taking would obviously be decreased even more. We then also have a couple of other abilities which aren't too important, but you may want to use them. We have Motive of Bravery, Deferred Death, and Rift Prison. So as I said, you can find some uses for these, but in my opinion there isn't much use for them at this point in time in PvE content. Rift Prison is okay for trolling in PvP, and also trolling in PvE, but it's not that great. And then we have our normal buffs which you need active. Fanfare of Vigor, Planebound Resilience. You have Planar Splash, so you want to use this when you are pulling an AoE group. If you've got a single target group, you don't want this active. Then you always need Guardian Phase on, because this increases your block and it enables block and guard, and increases armor by a lot, and also the other stuff. Then you have a couple of other ones that you can sometimes find a use for. Constant Deviation, which means you deal 25% more damage but take more damage. So this could be useful in some buffs if you're completely over geared. And then you have Stalker Phase, which you probably don't really want to use because then you're nowhere near as tanky and it reduces your threat. So for tanking you definitely want Guardian Phase, and if it's a really easy fight or boss, then you can just use Constant Deviation to deal a tiny bit more damage. Okay, so onto the macros. We have our first one, which is tank movement. So usually we use our Shadow, Assault, Blitz or Stalk to engage on a fight. Let me just find the abilities for you so you can see what they do. So here we go, we have Shadow Assault to teleport to an enemy and deals damage, and then we also have a passive buff, which I can't remember what it's called. It's like Power of the Plains or something. We deal AoE damage around us whenever we use a Shadow ability. Then we have Shadow Blitz, which again teleports to an enemy, deals damage up to 10 enemies and generates additional threat. And then we have Shadow Stalk. Where is it? Here we go, which teleports you to the target and removes all crowd control effects, so this can be pretty handy to use. So that's the tank movement one, so you want to put that on your ability bar. And then we have tank attacks, which is one that you're going to be spamming most of the time. We have Phantom Blow, where is it? Deals damage, reduces damage taken by 2% for 20 seconds, and also means you generate more threat, so obviously that's very good for tanking. Then we have Rift Disturbance, which deals AoE damage. Let me just find it for you. Here we go, so deals damage up to 10 enemies and reduces their attack power and spell power by 15 seconds on each hit. And then we have Planar Strike, which is, I don't really need to go over that, basically it's just a normal attack, and also Quick Shot, which is a ranged normal attack. Okay, so I'll quickly just go over an example of a fight and what abilities you need to do. So as I said, if it is an AoE group, you need to make sure that you have Planar Splash active, and if it's a single target then you don't need it on, as it reduces your damage to make sure that you deal damage up to 10 enemies. So if it's a single target fight then you don't need that. So I highly suggest that you engage on fights with your movement macro, as again you get that AoE buff around you which deals damage and it generates a ton of threat. And then you want to spam your macro here, your second one, and then once you have 5 combo points you use Guarded Steel to increase your armor, and also remember that active buff that I talked about earlier. And then if it's a AoE group, then you want to make sure you use Wrath of the Plains, as it deals AoE damage. And also if you find time, make sure you get Power of the Plains up just to increase your damage a bit. But mainly on single target, you just want to make sure that you always use Guarded Steel and always keep that buff on. Then in the AoE groups, if you want to deal loads of DPS, you can use Planar Variation to deal the damage. Or if not, then you target yourself or one of your allies to heal them up to full HP over 3 seconds. Then you need to remember that you have your combat buffs. For big cooldown, for big boss abilities, you want to try and use Planebound Aegis and Scatter the Shadows. Don't use them at the same time, especially because Scatter the Shadows gives you a reduced damage taken by 90%. So you really would be wasting Planebound Aegis if you did that. And make sure that you use Soul Coalescence, because it does give you a 20% less damage taken for 4 seconds, so you can use this in time with some boss mechanics, which is very handy. Physical Wellness you can use occasionally. I mean, it's not that great of an ability, but if you want you can use it just to increase everyone's health for 20 seconds. And then the healing hopefully should take everyone up to that extra 4.8k HP, and it may help you survive a boss mechanic. Then, as I said earlier, use Planar Attraction and Mass Instigate during or at the start of a fight to make sure that you pull all of the adds onto you and that they don't escape onto the DPS or healers. And other than that, make sure that you don't move around too much unless the boss specifically says to or needs to. You need to make sure that you keep on using your tank movement macro so that you always have your AoE thing around you to make sure that you always have threat. And that's it for today's guide. Hopefully this has been helpful. I know I've been standing still the whole time, but I wanted to make sure that I went over all the abilities in detail, and I can't necessarily do that during a fight. So yeah, thanks for watching. I do get my new PC tomorrow. I'll be building it tomorrow evening. and I will be making videos on that one, so I'll be able to play it in a lot higher detail, hopefully with a lot more FPS, and I can also stream with it, so the stream quality and the video quality is going to be improved by a lot. So make sure you stick around on my Twitch channel and also my YouTube, just so that you can check out the new graphics. So thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see some of you guys in future videos and on my stream.